One of the first steps you're going to do when you're designing a PractiCAD tag is choose the choices for the common parameters. Each different tag type in PractiCAD has different parameters and there's unique characteristics about all of them. However, they all share the same set of common parameters. On the left hand side, we're going to open up our tags to see the different options: general, input size, elevation, property, custom, and arrow. We currently have the tag general sample open. We're going to click on one of the PractiCAD default tags. Notice on the top of the screen, everywhere from style all the way down to frame, that this particular section is common amongst the general and also common amongst the input size tag. These parameters are called the common parameters, and they are the same for each different tag type. The first tutorials we're going to cover is how to manipulate the different options for your common parameters. The first option under common parameters is the layer box. Currently, we are working with a property tag that happens to be called the length tag. You will notice currently that the layer box is empty. There are only two modes for layering something in PractiCAD. Either A, we tell PractiCAD to follow the conditions we set forth under our layer mechanism, and when we say layer mechanism, we mean under presets, layers, and there are separate tutorials here. It is recommended to use this section for most of your layering. However, if you would like to make it so that a tag always goes to a specific layer every time and will never go to a layer based upon conditions, you can dictate the name of the layer here, and PractiCAD will always put that particular tag on that specific layer. For example, we're going to leave it blank for now, and we're going to exit out. We have a piece of duct that happens to be supply 2-inch water gauge or low pressure. We're going to come over and we're going to grab the length tag out of our bin. And when we click on it and add it to the drawing, you're going to notice that PractiCAD is going to put this tag directly on the ML Supply low pressure text layer. That is the layer that we have created in the PractiCAD layer mechanism. So it's following those conditions. However, if we go back into our library icon and go back into the property length tag, and now under layer, choose the name of a layer we'd like it to go to. Here we're going to call it PCAD layer. If we save it and put it on the drawing now, PractiCAD is going to put this tag on the PCAD layer every time. If the PCAD layer does not exist, it's going to create a layer for you. So what we're going to do is put in PCAD layer. We're going to exit out, and then we're going to go back in and we're going to place the same length tag down and attach it to the duct. Notice this time, you can already tell by the color, it's on a different layer. The PCAD layer was not created on our template, therefore PractiCAD created the layer for us. So it is recommended most of the time to leave the layer blank and follow the conditions in your layer mechanism. However, you can give an individual layer to each specific tag and make sure that it goes to that layer every time. But if you want one tag to go on one layer based on one condition and another layer based on another condition, you must leave the layer box blank and create the condition sets underneath your PractiCAD layer mechanism. And once again, there are separate tutorials on that section. The next section we're going to cover under the common parameters will be the leader style. PractiCAD gives you the option to have a leader attached to the tag you're going to place on the drawing. To demonstrate how to utilize this, we're going to close the browser on the left and we're going to focus on the leader style. Currently, you can see the box is unchecked. When it's unchecked, PractiCAD is going to gray out the choice for dimension styles and also the choice between the arrow leader and the spline. If we decide that we'd like to be prompted to place a leader on the drawing before the tag, we can check leader style. When we do that, PractiCAD is going to ask us what dimension style should the leader's properties follow. And there are separate tutorials on designing dimension styles. Here we're going to say that we want this leader to follow the dimension style standard. And then we can choose between two leader types, the arrow and the spline. We are going to show you both inside this tutorial. We're going to hit save and then we're going to exit out of my library. We're going to go over to Format, and we're going to drop down to the Dimension Style section. You'll notice here that we've got a standard dimension style created, which is the style that this leader is going to follow. And to demonstrate that, we're just going to go to Modify, and under the Symbols and Arrows tab, we're going to change the arrow size to 8 and make it large. We're going to press OK, and then we're going to close out of the Dimension Style Manager. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go right into our tag bin, and we're going to grab that length tag. But this time when we click on it once, you'll notice in the command line that PractiCAD prompts us to specify the leader's start point. Now what we're going to do is click for the start point of our leader. We're going to click for another point, and we can continue to click for as many leader lines as we like. In this particular case, we're just going to leave it as those two. Then we're going to right click and hit enter, which is going to attach the tag to the leader line, and then we can choose the rotation. Here we're going to click, and now you can see that the length tag has been attached to the duct utilizing a leader line that is following the dimension style standard. If we would like to use the spline instead of the arrow line, all we need to do is go back into our library icon, and instead of keeping the arrow leader checked, we're going to uncheck that, and we're going to click on spline. Now we're going to hit the save key. We're going to exit out of my library again, and this time we're going to apply the length tag, but this time utilizing the spline. So we're going to place it on the drawing. Once we hit enter and choose our rotation, you can take a look and see what the spline looks like. So the first option is, do we want a leader line, yes or no? Second option is choose the dimension style you'd like the leader line to follow. And the third option is to choose between the arrow or the spline. The next option we're going to cover under common parameters is your ability to use AutoCAD Textiles to dictate the font and height of a specific tag. Notice here under textile, we've written in the word standard. If we type in a textile name here, PractiCAD is going to use the font and height that you have preset underneath that textile. And there are separate tutorials on designing textiles. Here we're going to say we'd like the textile standard to dictate the font and height. Keep in mind, if you'd like to give your own font name and your own height here, all you need to do is delete anything out of the style field, and then the font and height choices will become available to you. The reason why we recommend utilizing an AutoCAD textile is because if you have 100 different tags in the software and they're all pointing towards one AutoCAD textile, you can globally edit them by simply changing the textile. So by utilizing this feature, it'll make it easier to edit tags later. However, if you know that a specific tag will always be a specific font and a specific height, you can always delete it out of style and utilize these two choices here. So what we're going to do is we're going to put in standard, we're going to hit the save key, and we're going to exit out of my library. We're going to go over to format and go down to textile, and here you can see that we've created the standard textile. It's currently using the font name Romans S, and you can see that the height is 3. We're going to change it to 8 so you can watch the length tag follow this particular textile. We're going to press apply, and then we're going to press close. Now what we're going to do is grab our length tag. We're going to click on the duct. We're going to place the length tag on the drawing, and you can see that it's going to be the font Romans S, and the text height is going to be 8, coming directly from our textile standard. Once we've chosen a particular textile, the next thing we must do is choose the format and precision that this particular tag is going to follow. Now AutoCAD offers two basic drawing unit types, and there are separate tutorials on how to use those under your format unit section. The two types happen to be length and angle. Length we generally use for length properties like length of duct, and angle we generally use for angle properties like the angle of an elbow. You will notice that the formats for the length type are different from the formats of the angle type. What we need to do is choose between two basic choices. Either 1, by AutoCAD, or 2, any other choice we have here. By AutoCAD means that when we go to place this particular tag on the drawing, that this tag should see what we've got our AutoCAD drawing setup set as, and follow that particular format. The same thing if we were to set to precision to buy AutoCAD. This is actually not recommended though. If you set your tags to follow by AutoCAD, as you get different drawings with different drawing setups, your tags might change formats and precisions. Generally, you would want an elevation tag to be in the architectural format with a specific precision, and you'd want your length tags to be in a decimal or fractional format. Therefore, each tag should govern itself when it comes to format and precisions. What we're going to do in this tutorial is we're going to take the length tag and say we would like to keep it under the decimal format or type. And then we're going to choose a precision. Instead of by AutoCAD, we're going to say we're going to send this digit out to 1, 0. We can always choose the precision for each type. Here we're going to say decimal format, precision 0.0. Now we're going to save and exit out of my library. We're going to go into the Format Unit section. On AutoCAD 2011, it's under Units, and we're going to look at the drawing unit setup. Here you can see the two types, length and angle. We're going to change the drawing setup to be under Architectural, and we're going to choose the precision 1/4 of an inch. Now we're going to press OK. The only reason we're demonstrating this particular feature is so that you understand that you don't have to worry about the drawing setup that AutoCAD's on if you pick a specific format and precision for each tag type. All of the tags in the software as a default have their own format and own precision. What we're going to do is we're going to grab this length tag, we're going to put it on the drawing, and even though AutoCAD's set at 1/4 inch architectural, we're going to get our decimal format to 1 precision decimal place. This is very important when designing your text. After you've chosen all the information to go inside your tag, you can now choose whether or not you'd like that specific tag to have a frame. There are a variety of different frame types that PractiCAD offers. To select between different frame types, all you need to do is select the one you want. We're going to go over the different frame types we have currently. We're going to exit out and we're going to look at a length tag we have on the duct. Currently, this tag has no frame. Now it is representing the rectangle, the circle, the bubble, the hexagon, the diamond, the square, the triangle, and the stretched hexagon. All you need to do is choose the proper frame you'd like to use, and every time you utilize that tag, PractiCAD will put it around a specific border. Though we can always choose one frame type per tag, PractiCAD also has the capability to choose a specific frame type based on a condition set that you predefine in your software. For example, imagine you'd like a tag that would be attached to a piece of duct, and if that duct was one material, it would get one frame type. However, if that duct was a different material, it would get a different frame type. If we'd like to do that, we must use the Advanced tab in our Common Parameters section. What we're going to do here is we're going to depress the Advanced tab. When we do that, PractiCAD's going to open up a series of windows, regardless of what tag type we're working in. On the left-hand side, we're going to click the green Add button twice, and that's going to allow us to create two conditions. First, we can name our conditions whatever we want. We're going to name the first one Black Iron. Then we're going to choose the frame type that we would like this condition to get. We're going to say that if it's black iron, we'd like the frame circle. Now what we must do is choose the conditions that the fitting must meet in order for PractiCAD to give the circle frame. Now if you have gone through these conditions in the PractiCAD layer mechanism, the condition set is the same throughout the software. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, let's include all fittings where the material equals black iron. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on this box and we're going to get a drop-down menu of all the conditions in the software. And we can jump to a specific condition by hitting the first letter. So what we're going to do here is hit the letter M. When I do that, it's going to go right to M. And now I can quickly find the parameter material. Every parameter in the software is listed under these conditions. Now what we're going to do is say when the material, and here we're going to drop down and say when the material equals, and now we're going to get a list of our materials. Remember, in your tutorials or your PractiCAD, your materials could be different than the ones you see here. It's all dependent upon an individual customer's data. Here we're going to say that material equals black iron. Now what we're going to do is we're going to check this condition box. So the only way we are going to get a circle frame around this tag is if the material of the duct we click on happens to be black iron. Now you'll notice down here we've got two choices, internal border and external border. Each tag can have two frames, an inside frame and an outside or external frame surrounding that frame. We're going to say for black iron we just want an internal frame. And then we can choose the color of that frame, and we can also choose the line type of that frame. Currently, we're going to say that the line type of this frame is going to be on the continuous layer. And there are separate tutorials on loading line types and using colors, line types, and line weights. Now what we're going to do is create our second condition. We're going to say this is going to be for brass. And for brass, we're going to say that we want a border that's going to be square. And we're going to say here that brass is going to be when material, we're going to press the letter M, we're going to go down to material, is when material equals brass. And then we're going to check the condition box again so that the material should be defined and should be equal to brass. There are separate tutorials that explain the logic of this checkbox. Now we're going to say that we don't just want a square, we want a double bordered square. So we're going to say that we want the internal and external. But this time we're going to change the line types. We're going to say the line type for the internal is going to be our hidden dashed 2. So it's going to be a dotted line on the inside. Some contractors might use, for acoustic lined fittings, a frame that has the inside dotted and the outside solid. So what we're going to do here is we're going to say the internal border is going to be line type hidden. We're going to say the external border is going to be the continuous layer. So we can choose a separate line type, line weight, and color for each internal or external border. Now what we're going to do is we're going to save. Now we're going to exit out of the system and we're going to try to utilize this tag. We're going to go into our tag bin and we're going to utilize the length tag, and we're going to simply click on the duct and place it on the drawing. Notice currently that there is no frame. That's because that's the way we have it currently set as a default. However, we're going to double click on this duct and take a look at the properties. Notice the material is currently galvanized. Now we're going to switch it to one of the conditions we created a frame type for. We're going to say let's change that material to black iron. Once we do that, you can see that PractiCAD has edited the frame to be a circle with just one border. It's an internal circle with the line type continuous. Now what we're going to do is we're going to change the material to brass. Here you can see that it's gone with an internal and external border. It's square, and you can see that the internal border is following the line type hidden times 2, and the external is following the solid continuous line. So utilizing this feature, we can indicate different conditions of fittings just by looking at the frame of the tag. The last choice of the common parameters is choosing the text alignment. Once you've chosen a frame, you can decide whether or not you'd like the text in that frame to be aligned on the left, the center, or the right. All you need to do is depress the proper alignment key. We're going to exit out. We're going to take a look at the 3 different types. Here you can see we have a tag aligned in a stretched hexagon frame. We have one aligned to the left, one aligned to the center, and one aligned to the right.